For most of the gacha games, I would never play it for more than 6 months. It takes a lot of amazing conditions to be fulfilled for me to want to play a live service game for long. It's already amazing that I've been playing Arknights for 6 years and counting, to the point that even if I weren't a content creator, I genuinely might foresee myself playing Arknights till maybe the day I'm gone, because it's genuinely such a high quality game and is delivering consistency. Arknights Endfield has reached that point of 6 months for me, and I will not deny, as you've heard in the other video that I've made about, the one with the thumbnail, the no content, and I said it towards the end as well, that there's just a chance that if Endfield really doesn't want to step up, I'm actually okay to drop the game, even if it has the Arknights franchise in it. I need it to show me that it can fulfill what are some of the great things that AK has done. But by watching the 1.4 livestream, I genuinely want to say that I think AK Endfield is doing that for me. So I am extending my stay in Endfield at this rate. The last conversation I had of Endfield was up to the point of the end first half 1.3. So that's before Consistency Contract and Camille was released. And I must say that with those two things, it definitely elevated what 1.3 felt like. With the whole frontal being Sword Volkdale and Bifu's quest, those were pretty controversial in their own way. So many people, including myself, were so pissed off with it. Not much lore being showed, and they're just something to pass time with. That's why I was so frustrated and I had to make that video. But I might want to make a separate commentary, not within this video, to tell you about how I feel towards Contingency Contract, and maybe also about Camille's story, because I do think that was one of the best character quests we had. But this video is going to focus on 1.4, because that's what the title of the video is. I'm just going to give you a quick recap on some of the big highlights, which is, for example, the feature of the 2 6 stars, the first one being Arcane, super versatile to use in a lot of different squads, and also Lino, which is a very simple to use 6 star. The most complex 6 star and the easiest 6 star to use in a single patch being shown. This patch also comes with 2 new maps which are not split up. They're gonna happen from the very start of the patch because they're part of the main mission. Pretty good, the boss looks really exciting, and also, this stream might have the best music being shown yet. I have a complaint where the music in Endfield can be good but not very memorable. But after listening to what they showed on the stream, they seem like pretty good highlights, so I'm looking forward to the official OST for them. And then also they showed the biggest AIC update, because it's gonna overhaul the way that your AIC works. There's scarce for you to play with now. Those are all the fun stuff. If you want the more detailed highlights to this, maybe you can go watch Kilston V, one of our beloved YouTubers. He's made a summary of all things 1.4. Whereas over here, I just want to give you a commentary on why I feel 1.4 is so good to me. I do want to state that 1.4 has a lot of blatant Arknights flavoring to kind of poke at the AK players that, oh, do you remember this exists? Now we have it in few type of things, right? So they have the things like a lot more ornaments, a lot more decorative features for you to use. Then they introduce emotes for your characters. It's not quite skins, but hey, your characters can do something different. And then there's the jukebox features for your Tijiang so that you play different music, followed by a more in-depth camera mode. That one made me so happy because, again, Japan and China are gonna love the crap out of it. Like stickers that you can put with it, do the poses that you want, make delicious photos. Awesome feature for them to have. And then of course, the biggest AK advertising of all, the Fortune Connect and Wing, right? The typical pull 2 tickets, see which one's higher, you get that Oro Barrel. Ooh. Did I scare you? It's okay, calm down. I've got something exciting to share because once again, Loot Bar is here to celebrate the half anniversary of Endfield together with everyone. You can use Loot Bar to buy yourself cheaper packs, or if you're in a region that you struggle to top up, you can also use this site. Especially for this channel, there is a giveaway that you can participate as well. Spin the wheel, use the coupon to buy yourself even cheaper items if you'd like. Doesn't just work for Endfield, can also work for tons of other games that you're already playing. Access my affiliate link and the giveaway in the pinned comment and description of the video. Thank you Lootbar for supporting this video, and back to it. Those are all very on the surface Easter egg level type of AK naming. But if we go one level deeper into what Endfield is doing, there's certain systems that I feel they're staying true to the philosophy of Arknights that just makes me happy that they've maintained it. If you're regularly watching my Endfield reviews enough, you will know that this word keeps popping up, which is about replayability, something to do within the game, having content to do in the game. For some reason, when people saw my previous video on no content, they thought I was referring to the fact that content creators have no videos to make. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying even players themselves are saying that there's nothing much to do in the game. And if you think that there's a lot to do in the game, wow, please tell me what there is to actually do in the game in your past many months. But CC came around, CC honestly did a fantastic job at showing a high difficulty game mode. You want to do to risk 20, you can get all the rewards, but if you finally want deeper gameplay, something that feels a little bit more replayable, you chase for higher ranks, go to risk 30, 40, 50, see where your account can take you. And I think it was a good showing as to just higher amount of gameplay for a section of players within the game. 1.4 looks really overwhelming gameplay wise. They introduced that there's going to be 3 new game modes. So there's going to be Echoes of War, which is a seasonal game mode. There's going to be new stages every week or every 2 weeks for you to play. It's kind of like Umbral Monument, but it rotates basically. Then there is going to be the Double Assault. So instead of using 4 operators, you're using 2 operators, but it's not just as plain simple as just cutting your units. There's going to be buffs that you can use, and you are going to find your suitable pairs to play along with that buff to enjoy yourself in the game mode. That feels like a pretty AK design. We just got CC where it nerfs your units and strengthens the enemies. And I was already thinking, what would they do for a game mode that does the opposite, where your units get buffed and the enemies get weaker? So we're gonna see iterations of this during this patch, and let's see whether they are able to perform it and balance it. There's still one more game mode, which is the Rooted Realm, a platformer, collect all the coins. It looks really fun. At least the coins are not positioned simply, there's gonna be hidden ones. It's gonna take time for you to solve and get your high score or even do speed runs. I'm looking forward to all these 3 game modes, and all these also comes with Umbral Monument and Delver of the Cryptic, and again 2 giant maps. So this is perhaps the biggest amount of content that we've seen in any patch apart from the launch. And they also teased us with the future patch game modes as well. So there was a Temple Run-esque game mode followed by this archery one. And then there is also a Diner Dash within. Now the compilation of the 3, that one got me wincing a little bit because I'm like, it kind of looks a little bit Wind Bloom Festival of a certain game, you know what I mean? It's very arcadey. Now, arcadey mini games and game modes do exist in AK because we often have like a little game that is paired with all the side stories and main events that appear. So it's not like it's a bad thing, but if you're gonna do game modes like this, I hope that it's not just some simple dumbed down version, but instead make it fun. Like for instance, I was saying that the Diner Dash one, there better be some silly dialogue within that one. Otherwise, it's gonna be like, why am I playing this within this game? And then there's also the archery one. At least it doesn't look like it's a straightforward just shoot and aim. There's a lot of targets that's going on and you can multi-shot. What the hell is going on there? So, okay, there is a original sort of flavor, a little bit of a special take given to it. They know that we're asking for more and they seem to be working hard on it. Of course, hopefully there's going to be even more focus to the core gameplay of this stuff, which is combat, right? 1.3 kind of settles it with the multiple combat game modes, and then they also need to do it for the AIC, the factory, another core aspect of the game. But at least this patch comes with the biggest AIC update that you need, so that's all good. Now, when I say that they stuck true to what I like about AK, there's gonna be a new word that you hear me mention, and perhaps not for only this video, but for a few times later on, which is optionality. It's one of the greatest reasons that I've loved AK so much, and I cannot stand it in a lot of the other gacha games. Optionality is basically the idea that you're a player, you have things that you like to do and things that you don't like to do. But the game makes it such that if you have these sort of preferences, you can focus fire on the things that you enjoy, and perhaps you can spend less time or even not do the things that you don't enjoy. This will first bring up contingency contract that happened in 1.3. I was staring heavily at it to see how they deal with the reward systems and stuff, and I'm so glad that when it comes to things like pools that people are sensitive about, they decided to still give it within the game mode, but you don't even have to clear risk 20 to get there. All you need to do is just risk 5, you can buy all the pools. Materials, sure, maybe you value them, but even then, it doesn't take you to do the highest risk in order to get all the rewards, right? Just risk 20, completely fine and more than enough. Anything that is beyond is, again, a personal choice. Do you want to feel difficulty? Do you want to feel stress and pain within the game? The game will bound no rewards to it. Try it if you want to. I still do think it's crazy that Endfield has to find ways to bind pools to every single game mode, even the little ones that they do. For your note, Arknights don't even contain pools in such game modes. There's no pools as a reward for contingency contract, integrated strategies, reclamation algorithm. Instead, they're all literally game modes for you to play for fun, and the rewards that you get, only materials. That allows Arknights to front load their pools. Every time they do login rewards and stuff, the mail, the amount of pools, they're all much bigger. That's why I can write things like 50 plus free pools in my AK thumbnail, because it's very obvious that you're gonna get them. When you look at Endfield and they did the poster of the amount of pools and people look at it and be like, only 20 pools? That's a shame, that's a sham. But people don't realize 2 maps, 3 other game modes, that's a lot of pools that they're gonna scatter all around, right? Like 2 pools here, 2 pools there, all these for you to pick up. And it might actually also just amount to it being 50 free pools. But unfortunately, not front-loaded, so you wouldn't know until you actually play the patch. It's a syndrome of the other gacha games that pools need to be everything. That's why Endfield is just following suit. But I'm so glad the thing they didn't follow suit about is if you go into the highest difficulty, no pools. I had to drop the other games because why the frick are they doing that? You know, it's always about shielding the brand new unit. That would be the easiest way and time for you to get those pools that you're craving for. But at least, easy, normal difficulty, you'll get it. So that also showcases in the Echoes of War. So Echoes of War has normal, hard, and brutal difficulty. And as stated in the stream, pools will only be given to the normal difficulty. There's still going to be materials for later on, but the thing that you're most concerned about, normal difficulty, that's all you need to do. Anything beyond is for your own personal pride, for you to show off in your profile that you've cleared the hardest difficulty available. Now, I'm not saying that they should remove pools, because after all, it incentivizes people to actually try the game mode, to actually engage with the game. So it's gonna stay, but more than glad that they do not bind it to difficulty, because that irritates me as a player. It should be optional, so that you don't force even the casual players to feel like they need to scratch their heads whenever hard things appear. Now, optionality doesn't only come in the form of the gameplay, it's also about building of your units. So I did find that this was genuinely going to be a problem. So they've been constantly introducing higher tiered gears, which will use higher tier components in order to build them. So one of the problems that this game is definitely going to have is if players have just joined the game and now we're like 5 tiers up in the game, how are they supposed to access the latest gear to feed to a new unit that they just put for? The way that they solved this was really not what I was expecting. So they've introduced this new idea that every gear will always be buildable by the highest tier component related to it. So even the oldest gear, if they only use Kuprion component, that's considered its highest tier. But what they've basically done is that the older components can build the new gear now. However, if you were to use the oldest component, the damage that you'll take is that it'll take more quantity and it'll also take more stock bills, which stock bills can be considered pretty precious because you ideally want to spend it on the coupons or the artificing catalyst or all the new stuff that they let you buy within the store, rather than to put it on things like gears. So they did something that I don't think I would have ever thought of. So a lot of people are concerned about this whole lower tier component being used for newest gear because it kind of makes AIC feel worthless. Like what for then if you want to further on your AIC when there's no benefit if everything all works? But they've basically done this. So the highest tier component will forever give a 99% discount on the stock bills, which essentially means that you spend nothing when building gears. So there is still a reason why you want to be producing every single type of component and stockpiling on them. So if a new player were to join in, they wouldn't be forced to need to over progress on like the AIC and the world discovery, and instead they can just already use the first component in order to build the newer stuff. Of course, yes, it'll take more stock bills, but it's fine, at least they can have that access. Whereas for the people who's later in the game, now you have an option. There's a lot of people who complain that they don't like the AIC, the factory of the game. And even when things like blueprints exist that lets you copy the work of other people, it's not enough for them. They just genuinely do not want to come in contact with this. But now with the idea that even the weakest amount of components can work, you can be lazy, right? If you're okay to take the idea of spending more stock bills, then just let your base not be over complex, use the first tier of the component, and then be able to access every single gears from now on. The idea of this change is that it's a genuine win-win for all types of players. No one is losing out. The people who are just starting the game gain access to gears. The people who hate the factory don't need to do the factory as much. The people who love the factory, you also get rewarded because again, you get savings on the stock bills that you spend. So it's not like you don't have to optimize your factory anymore. They still make it such that you will feel better than the other players for optimizing your factory. The last thing on this optionality section is the fact that you can now skip Valley 4. When you first start the game, you still have to play through the tutorials, so you still have to do the Hub and Valley Pass. But past that, Original Science Park onwards, the game now allows you to instead go into Wuling as a new player or a returning player. Which, if you think about it, that's actually a pretty good change. Now, I know some of you are defendants of Valley 4, and some of you even argue that Ling has a worse storyline than Valley 4 at the current point of the game. I'm not gonna fight that. There's some truth behind that, but a lot of people did highlight that they didn't enjoy Valley 4, and that's why they dropped the game, because it just felt like everything was so slow. When is the story gonna progress? This is very unappealing. So the fact that now you can skip and send people to the... I don't think a lot of people argue this. Ling is pretty aesthetically pleasing for you to walk around in the world. There's more nature, it's not stones. Of course, some of you like the apocalyptic nature of Valley 4. But it's good to, again, give people that option. You can either play the game with the actual flow from the start of the heart all the way until you play Power Battle, or just go to Ling and then enjoy the storyline if you thought that Valley 4 wasn't up to your taste. So I just like that change. And I kind of wonder, will they be able to do this well enough in the future? Because if we start opening up to 4 regions and 5 regions, must you have played all the regions before in order to access the later regions? This is going to be complicated for things like main story, because after all, main story do need to follow the flow of events. However, I do wonder if Endfield will pursue the same idea as AK, that is not every single content needs to be labeled as a main story, and instead, they can do certain side stories. So they could introduce a new region where they say that it doesn't follow the main storyline, and instead it's got its own story that's going to happen for 6 months for you to read about, and then afterwards we'll go back to the main story again. If a side story were to exist, the goodness of it is the fact that perhaps you again don't have to progress anywhere in the main mission, and if you just join the game, you can immediately access that side story. Quite like how you do in AK if you think about it, that new players can just choose the side story they want, read it, play it for all they want. I would be glad if Endfield does that. That's at least what I felt when they said that you can skip Valley 4. But again, options are good. I know some people will somehow argue that this isn't a good thing because players aren't really playing the game. I'm not sure why that's the case, but optionality is always better than forcing players to do stuff. I mean, you have games that haven't even added skip button for their dialogues of the story when people are, not tuned into it anymore. And then you, again, also have games where pools are locked behind everything difficult. I'm glad Endfield is doing what AK has been doing. Let players choose what they want to play, let players choose what they want to do. And that's one of the biggest reasons I want to keep playing this game. I'm not stopping here though. Here's another thing I want to mention. I've said this a lot in my past videos, and that is, progression in this game is insanely fast. It's so easy to max build your characters, whether is it level 90 weapon and character, giving masteries to them. A lot of people thought that the Mark of Perseverance was going to be a rare material like the other games, where it kind of slows you down in terms of how fast you can build your units. But no, they're giving it for free like a buffet with every little events. And not just on the skills, you can easily build the essence for your weapons as well. It's not too difficult to get perfect essences and just quickly farm on them. And then you artifice the gear, also pretty okay to do that with just your factory, the stock builds. But they're making it even easier this time. So now with the new operator stage, not only they're giving the 100 oro barrel and other materials, they're giving fully artifice gear. You skip the step of artificing catalyst being used. So if you play like the arcane mission, they're gonna give you the 4 pieces that you require to best suit arcane. And that way you just that's just crazy. Why did they need to do that? I was so confused why this was one of the change. But it's not a bad change, it's just, again, making things even quicker. It's very different from how it works at AK, because AK have a lot more operators, right? We have 400 people over there, but Endfield only has 25. And yet the difference is that you slowly build characters over there with that larger pool, and over here they're making such that everybody that you own might as well just be built at this point of the game. So they're doing that. Again, there's so many game modes now, which means you're gonna see tons of materials for you to collect again. I'm just perplexed that this is how they're doing the game. So there isn't much of a grind as you would feel, perhaps, as compared to even Arknights, for instance. It's a good thing, I would say. It's a different feel. But when you don't have all these grind anymore, which I much rather because I don't want that. I'm so glad, by the way. Best thing about Endfield, no RNG stat grind. Okay? That was one of the biggest tick-off that I have from the others. Don't ever introduce that in my face. You do that, I'm out. Endfield is good without it. But yes, when there's no more mindless grinding that exists in the game does need to work on the substance that it provides. You know, the quality of the story and the combat. which now I'm just going to move on to the last bit of the video, which is, yes, I've said all the things that I thought they've done well. The game is by no means perfect, and honestly, it's really far from being perfect. There's a lot of things that they haven't fixed, which the loudest complaint is still existing. The gacha of this game, not enjoyable. Again, it's not a problem of the gacha system. The gacha system is fine. In fact, I even argue that it's better than what AK does. However, the trouble that it has is that the pools and the stuff that they give just doesn't feel like it's good enough. Free-to-play players will definitely need to work hard on saving. They can't expect to get everything. But then the pay-to-play players like the dolphins, which is what I might call myself for instance, the people who buy monthly card and battle pass, somehow, there's not enough for you to get, every single character. You could actually do that in AK, but not quite in Endfield. You do need to top up way more money. And by the time you spend that sort of amount, why are you paying for a gacha game? I'd much rather that I be buying 10 different items for the Steam Summer Sale than to put it in the gacha game. But if you're a whaler, for instance, as well within this game, why would you want to spend thousands of dollars or $5,000 to get pot 5 of a character? Is there enough incentive in this game in order to make even the biggest centers want to pay for more? Is it because the characters are not strong enough? Is it because they're not enticing enough? Basically, the gacha experience right now seems to be trying to figure out what the hell it's trying to balance. It needs to make sure that it's enjoyable for the free-to-play to feel like they can get what they want more often the time, and also for the pay-to-play players to feel willing to pay in the first place, because otherwise, it's gonna be a problem, right? If there are way more pay-to-play players in this game, you can definitely then expect the free-to-play experience to be improved along with it. But if the pay-to-play experience is not good and people are all holding back, then the free-to-play experience will also get worse with it because they need to get the money that they expect to receive. Then, the gacha aside, when it comes to the combat experience, you've already seen certain complaints with regards to CC, because people are also discovering ways that the combat can be very annoying, like the targeting system for instance, the fluidity of the skills, sometimes it gets very dizzying as well. I have parts of the combat that I don't like as well. The foundation of the game is very good, and I think this game does have a lot of skill expression, which is also the reason that I enjoy Endfield quite like AK. I care about skill expressions in the game. The fact that your mastery of the unit, how you press, how you sequence stuff, matters a lot more than the amount of money you spend in the game. I cannot stand the other games where it seems like I need the newest, flashiest toys to apparently prove that I'm the best player in the world or something. Endfield, I don't feel that way. And I hope they can maintain that while still, again, trying to elevate the pay-to-play experience to incentivize people to spend. Okay, when it comes to combat, there's this one thing that I've been waiting for them to fix and they didn't do it in this patch, and I'm so shocked they didn't, because clearly this is the best time to do it when they introduce arcade. Where's our gear loadouts? Please allow us to preset set 1, these gear, set 2, these gear, so that you can switch, because one thing that we learned with contingency contract is the fact that conventional gear sets might not actually be the best gears for you to use for that unit, and instead you might want to switch it out for the condition that you see in CC. So that needs to exist. One more thing that they didn't really fix, but then again, they might do so in this patch. We have to wait and see. And that is story, right? 1.2's back-end story really was disappointing as heck. And then they followed through with 1.3 Sword Vault Dale. And then again, Mifu Quest depends on whether you like it or not. So is the story gonna get better? I feel like Endfield has worked so much harder on the presentation of the story. If you look at the cinematography or like the camera angles, the way they frame the units, the way that they frame the world, it's so much better than what they did at the start of the game. They have the tools to make beautiful animations and stuff, but the writing, man, the writing I feel is really holding them back from delivering bangers in truth. I hope that 1.4 can at least, well, surely it can't be worse than 1.2 and 1.3, surely they can at least deliver something better. One final thing to say to close off this video, and that is the ending message that they did during the live stream. So that was an unexpected moment. Lowlight himself was talking about how they've progressed within the game, and it was just sweet while also being the biggest address me that happened. So they were talking about how they even arrived at this final version of the game, showing footage of the old alpha test, the slowed down version of the game, and just precisely putting everything. And he explained as to why they came to the decision of how Endfield is today. One of the reasons why I was so against the people who were talking about Endfield is the constant conversation that they had was about how the developers don't know what they're doing, the developers aren't making the product they want. Well, now the developer is just doing this stream to tell you, This was what we wanted. So you can't go against it. It's either you like that they're doing this, you support that they're doing this, and if you don't, then it's just not the game that you want, because these are just what the developers wanted to make, and they have an audience that they're targeting. If we're not part of the audience, and that includes me as well, if I feel I'm not part of the audience for Endfield, I would just not have played it. But looking at Endfield, I do enjoy it, and that's why I still want to continue playing the game. So did 1.4 make me feel a lot better of the game? Yeah, it's surprising. I am going to be playing this game longer than the other gacha games that I've played. You know, again, a lot of the time I quit it within 6 months. We're passing the 6 months mark now, and I can foresee wanting to at least wait till Enfield shows me the new region and see whether or not it can help me keep the excitement. I will never say that I'll play a gacha game forever. I mean, I want to say that for AK as well. Back when I first played AK in like year 2 or 3, the way I kind of look at it is look at the future content and then think to myself, okay, I can foresee myself playing for 1 additional year or 2 additional year. But I mean, hey, AK has made me really locked in now, and then I think I can't leave the game anymore. Enfield, you're gonna have to keep extending that lease with every patch that you do. If you do a bad patch, the lease goes shorter. If you do a good patch, okay, I'll stay a bit longer. I mean, I hope that it can play the same effect as AK, that you do better and better and better, and then I feel like I want to stay in the game for long. So that's all I'm gonna say in this video. Hopefully it was a good one for you to watch. See you in another video. Bye bye.